What's up, guys? I'm your host, Tim Galligan, and welcome to the Ghost of Real Estate. Today's season 2, new season, episode number 1, with very special guest, Tom Vito. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Awesome, my pleasure, man. You want to start off telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Tom Vito. I'm the principal of All Shore Abstract for the last 20 years. We're located at 99 East Main Street in East Islip, New York. We're a first American underwriter. And a little bit about myself. I recently engaged about a year and a half ago to a girl that I've loved my entire life since I'm a little kid. And I was a dancer when I was a kid, a tap dancer, and that's how I met her. I have 2 wonderful boys, TJ and Paul, and a daughter now, Kylie. Great kids. The boys go to St. Anthony's, and one just graduated.
Awesome.
So we're very proud of all 3 of them. So that's
Good
basically
stuff.
it about me, as personally.
Cool. So All Shore Abstract, so you guys obviously focus on title. You want to tell us a bit about your journey to starting the company, how you got started, and where you guys are today?
Yeah, so the company was founded by a gentleman, my partner, named Frank Johnston. Frank's been in business for 35 years with the organization. I came in about close to 20 years ago. It was kind of an interesting story. I used to insure All Shore Abstract. Myself, I have various licenses in the industry, property and casualty being one of them. So Frank and All Shore were actually a client of mine. And one day, just literally out of the blue, Frank had called me and asked me to come in. I thought perhaps like a water pipe broke or something like that. I said, well, we have a claim or something. But Frank asked me to sit down. There was no water leaking from anywhere. And he asked me, how do you feel about coming in and taking on this role? And I actually told him no, because I had a book of health insurance at the time,
Right.
a book of property and casualty, and the children were young, and I had a lot going on. And I literally left the office, and he thanked me for coming in. He just said, you're the first guy I thought of. So It was an honor for sure. Frank is, Frank. He's.
You've known him for a while at this point, obviously.
I did. I knew him kind of as a kid. I used to hang out and run the barbecues and the bars at their, parties. Awesome. And then I went off to college and so on and so forth. But when I left the office, a mutual friend of ours, called me literally 30 seconds. And he had some choice words to say to me over the phone. He started with, "You dumb." And how could you turn this down? And I said, well, I got a lot going on.
Right.
And he hung up. I think he just shaking his head and he hung up, this guy. About 20 seconds later, another mutual friend called me. He goes, "You dumb." And I go, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do here? So, and I'm literally a half a block from All Shore Abstract on the side of the road fielding these phone calls. So I sat there after the second call. And I called Frank back and I said, Frank, I've been giving it some thought. I said, I think I'd like to reconsider and take you up. He goes, great, when can he come in? I was like, actually right now. So I went back in and the rest is kind of history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you first got started, what was the business like at that point? What is it like today? And what is that growth transition?
Yeah, so the business was booming at that point. It was really it was booming at that point. I had no idea what I was doing. It was kind of comical. I mean, I always had salesmanship ability, per se. I always had a business mind as far as that goes, but I really didn't know anything. And I made that very clear. I was like, I don't know anything about it. Don't worry about it, you're going to be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And, as time went on, obviously, the full support from Frank and the entire, family over at All Shore. And then, obviously, learning and failing on my own and, yada, yada. But the business... and I'm sure we'll talk about it, during this set. It really ebbs and flows, and I think you understand that.
Yeah,
being in the business, there's going to be periods of highs, there's going to be periods of lows.
Right.
Right now, it looks like we're starting to approach, a slope down.
Right.
But at that time, when things were high, we all remember '08, and it fell off the table.
Right.
Which really gives credence to All Shore Abstract being in business for 35 years, and it's really very important. And I'll talk to the audience, but the average lifespan of a title insurance company in the state of New York is 5 to 7 years.
Is that right?
It is right.
Yeah.
So being in business for 35 years really speaks volumes of your ability to handle those down markets,
Right.
As well as the up. Anybody could ride the wave up high. It's when it crashes, are you able to sustain it?
Right.
We've been able to sustain multiple, downturns, But on top of that, been able to grow.
Right.
So I think it really speaks volumes about who we are.
That's awesome. So you've gone through the '08 fall off the table, and
Yep.
now we are where we are now. What do you see happening in the market?
It's tough to say because I think every downturn is unique in and of itself.
Right.
This one I don't think is any different. I think there's a lot of political chaos out there right now, which is certainly affecting everything. Coming off of the COVID pandemic and lockdowns and whatever, I think you saw a spike in purchases, certainly here in New York.
Right.
Other states like Florida as well. But all I know is we're prepared. I don't know if I have a crystal ball saying what's going to happen. People talk about the rates going up. Obviously, the refi market has been greatly affected by that. But, purchases is where we profit the most.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
So the purchases, it's a little tough. I guess I could answer that better maybe in September because July and August are usually slightly slow on orders due to vacations and stuff like that. But after Labor Day, I think it'll be a better indicator from a data standpoint of what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to certainly tame down. To what degree, I really don't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Interest rates going up, people affordability and inflation at the same time. Be an interesting scenario. So you're running a business. I think a lot of people could benefit, and the audience can benefit from understanding what exactly goes into it, to growing it, getting the systems, the operations, the people down pat. How does the business work and flow as a whole? You want to give us like a broad overview?
Sure. So that's a great question. I think one thing that really separates All Shore Abstract from many other title companies out there is that we're a very segmented organization. So personally, myself, I don't get involved in any of the back end processing. My partner doesn't get involved with any of the front end, development work per se. So everybody has a real specific job to do. And nobody steps on anybody's toes. So I think that, in a nutshell, is what keeps our flow flowing very well, consistently over time. As far as growing the business, that I could talk for hours on. And first of all, you have to love what you're doing, right? You have to love. So if we all have a role, you really got to love the role that you're in.
Yeah.
If you're not happy in the role that you're in, it's never going to work. Okay. You have to develop that love. You got to develop that passion, and you got to lead with that. Day in and day out.
Right.
I love people. I love performing. I told you I was a dancer when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love the bright lights. It's great. I love people. But another thing that I love, and I get this from my parents, I really do, is I love giving. I love giving to people. I always did. And I usually set the example by telling people, say during the holidays, is that I was always the person, even when I was a little child, I would rather give somebody a gift and wait for their reaction on it and to see the joy, right? When they opened it, hopefully there was joy, But I bought a couple of bombs throughout the year.
A few returns here and there?
Yeah, a couple. But, seeing them light up, it would make me feel wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I love receiving a gift.
Yeah, sure.
But to give a gift was always great. So as I progressed in my profession and professional life, I started kind of adding that, right? And not just sitting there waiting for orders to come in, or great, you landed a client, but maybe it's not taking off like you thought it may.
Right.
So I started really adding into, wait a minute, took a step back and I said, how do I give? How do I give this person something? And I came up with that. I said, I got to give them business. Let's give them business. And I started giving, whether it be a realtor, a banker, an attorney. I started connecting the dots and giving. By doing that over time, consistently, and doing it well. Trust me, there were failures. Always fail, right? But you learn a lot. You should learn a lot from failing. But doing it consistently over time, I went from being a front end or principal of a title company to truly becoming a resource for people. Once you're able to become a resource, you gain a lot of power, right? You become very important to people. And when you're important, the business follows, right? I guess this is an old cliche, right? When people are starting to get into business, maybe out of college, maybe they have somebody in their family or a mentor, they'll say to that person, don't follow the money, follow your passion, and the money will follow that. there's truth to that. There's always truth to that. But for me, and in this line of work, becoming the resource is when the money starts coming in.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time to becoming that resource. And it really comes down to one thing, your ability to give and integrity. You have to have integrity every single second of every day.
Yep.
And now in line of work, there's a lot of money being transpired day in and day out. If you don't have integrity, you may as well just find another job immediately.
Right.
So I owe a lot to integrity, a lot to being mentored the right way, certainly to my parents, my family, but and really the hard work and just, with integrity over time. That's really what it amounts to.
Yeah. No, and I'll second that. I mean, I remember the first time that we met, I noticed right away, I said, oh shit, this guy, he's a master networker. Yeah. And you were obviously very good at that. I've learned a ton from you. But it is important, and I think that's a big takeaway. Like, I'll speak for myself personally. When I first started in the industry, I was all about, whether cold calling, internet leads, door knocking, whatever it may be, and that's great. But to grow a true sustainable business, it comes down to the relationships and becoming that resource. And I'll definitely second that. That's great. I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, and to touch on that, and we don't have to mention names, but I shared with you, I think it was Friday when we played around the golf.
Yeah.
I shared with you that one of my clients had said something to me, right? And he had said to me, he goes, Tom, the reason why I did this, we don't have to get into what this was, but the reason why I did this is because you're the only person I've met throughout the years in title insurance that actually lives up to his word and delivers on what you're going to say. Everybody else, as per him, feeds you lip service, right? It's a very lucrative position. You could take, great, say you're going to do something, not. You got a couple of big deals, you made a ton of money, and it's over.
Right.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm here, I want to be in business another 35 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. And the only way to do that is to give.
Right.
And to make people, go out of your way for people. Give them something they're not currently or never did get.
Right.
And we do that very well.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
So with the growing business, striving, what's the work-life balance like? What's your advice for people who are struggling with that?
Geez, stay away from the scotch, right? Stay away from the scotch. But it's hard, it's always hard. It's a very non-traditional role that we kind of play. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
It's almost 24 hours. But that doesn't mean you're in the office for 24 hours. Sometimes I'll be in the office for 2 hours a week. Sometimes not at all. It depends.
You're out in the field a lot.
I'm out in the field a lot. I'm at clients' offices. I'm at events. I'm at dinners. I'm at lunches. I'm at breakfast. I'm at networking
golf a
meetings.
lot.
They're not going to talk about my golf game. But I'm planning on golfing more, yes. Right. So certainly golfing a lot. And but the thing is that the work-life balance, being a single father of 2 young boys for many years, it was tough. It was very hard. Yeah, it was very tough. You have to sit down as a family unit. When they're babies, it's hard. They don't really understand, so you have to spend time with them. You have to stay with them. I chose to. Okay, you can get a nanny. You could, if you could afford that, or do this. I never really wanted that. I wanted to raise them, and I did, but I got to be honest. Enter Tracy into the picture. In my home life over the last few years, I have a tremendous support staff. Primarily her, and just having, letting people know, if you don't have that support staff at home, right, to balance out that family, letting your partners know, letting your team know, listen, I need some help in these areas, asking people, and you'd be surprised, as long as your production's there and you're producing, people will start going out of their way for you, especially, again, if you're going out of your way from everybody.
Right.
And that's part of not only becoming a resource, but becoming just a really important person to other people, and then you'd be surprised people kind of go out of their way for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What would be some advice? I mean, like I said, I've learned a lot from you in the networking aspect, 100%.
What'd you learn?
A lot. Everything that you just said is what I picked up on just in meeting you in 1 minute. And I know that I can, if I needed to know someone, just like I did yesterday, I needed a contact.
Yeah.
I can go to you. You became that resource successfully. person for people, right? What can I do for you versus what can you do for me? Right, givers gain, right? Like the
B&I motto.
yeah.
Yep, sure.
B&I has worked wonders for you, right?
It kind of reinforced what I was taught as a child,
Right.
and inherently I had built inside of me to give. So having that mantra established, right, and that code to live by per se, it was great. So I was kind of a natural fit, you know, inside of that platform. And I've met a lot of wonderful people along the way as far as that goes, for
Awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Anyone who's looking to get into business, who's thinking about maybe getting into this industry or any industry, what are some words of wisdom or advice that you'd give?
Follow my lead. I would say that. I've met a lot of people.
Yep.
I've had a lot of people walk through my door that wanted to do it. It's very hard to start out in my industry.
Right.
I'll use my son as a great example.
Right.
Just graduated high school. And, you know, when asked, what do you want to do? I want to go work for you, Dad. Okay, great. Now he's 18 years old. Great kid. It's my son. I love him, right? I told him no. He goes, why? I go, there's no way anybody's going to take you serious at 18 years old. There's no way that you're going to be able to go meet with an attorney, a banker, a realtor, you know? Regardless if you're saying that you're my son or not, that's not what life's about.
Right.
So I told him, you need to go out there and fail. Go fail. Go fail a bunch of times. Go learn. Go get educated. And then if this is something that you truly want to do after all that, when you're at least 25, 26, 27, then we'll revisit it and come back in. But I would say if you come into this industry, don't come in going, I'm going to make, you know, $7 million. Right. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Learn integrity. Learn on building relationships. If you have a high-level contact, that's great. I mean, what a head start, because it is very lucrative.
Yeah.
Okay, what a head start. But if you don't have any contacts and you come in, absolutely get involved in a networking group, multiple networking groups if you can. Shake hands, look people in the eye with integrity, lead with integrity. The competency is certainly here in the back office, and it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Right. What are some of those, maybe dropping some networking group names? B&I is one of them.
B&I, LaTip. There's a few in the city. I'm in a loss for words for certain
Similar
names
things,
of them.
right?
You know, similar. You'll see networking groups popping up all the time.
Meet up, right?
Meet up, I believe. Yep. B&I is really the big one. I think LaTip is really the big one.
Yeah.
You can't belong to both, I believe, at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to kind of pick one or get accepted by one, and then take it from there. But I think there's plenty of events in this industry that you could go out.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got to watch when you go to these networking groups too. You have to have a plan when you go in there, and the plan can't be drink as much champagne, you know, as possible because it's free. 90% of the crowd's doing that. I always had a plan, and my plan was there's one person in that room that I want to meet. There's just one.
Yeah.
And I actually hated networking, hated it in these cocktail environments. I hated it.
Yep.
So what I found, that I remember this is about 6 years ago in Manhattan, and I went, I got invited by a high-level individual, and I'm there, and they said, Tom, you're great, you're the best at networking. I said, can I talk to you for a second? I know, but I need a drink, and just like a little anxiety. So I had a drink, and all of a sudden I walk up to these upper echelon individuals, and I sat there, and I was like, I got stage fright for a second. It was only 3 people.
Yeah.
But I just walked into this little clique for a second.
Right.
They all look. And I was like, you know, hi, I'm Tom Vito. I'm the principal of Allshore. Oh, we've heard of Allshore. I said, oh, that's great. It makes me feel good. And I sat there, and I just went blank. And all of a sudden I go, please forgive me. I said, I can't stand these things, and I hate networking. And oh my God, I was like, that's it. That's the icebreaker.
Right.
And I go, with that said, and all of a sudden I get into it, it became a circus, and 2 of them like great clients of mine now.
That's awesome.
But the whole thing is, every time I go to a networking cocktail party, and if any of you ever see me out there and I say it, I'm gonna walk up to you and go, please forgive me, I hate this stuff. And that's my segue into doing it. So you gotta find that little icebreaker that kind of helps you out.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point too. I personally hate it as well.
Yeah.
Like going to the happy hour and it's everyone walking around, you don't know anyone, whatever it is, you gotta. But I think it's important what you said of having a plan when you go in, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I'll speak for myself, I would, when forced to go to these things in the past, I would go and just kind of walk around, you know, whatever. It's
Right.
like, well, this, that, the
Aimlessly
other.
sometimes.
And it's literally a waste of time, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to what are you doing after, right? What are you doing after you meet the person who you want to meet, or someone who you didn't know that you wanted to meet but you happen to meet, right? What are you doing? Are you entering that person into your CRM system? Are you following up with that person? Are you providing them value? How are you doing that? And to me, that's a whole nother business in itself.
Yeah.
And it's timely. It's timely.
Yeah, so, if I could kind of continue on with some of this stuff, So I think one of the things that I've benefited from, and I would not expect many people to do this, I really wouldn't. I was always a very open person, very open person. Like, I don't really have many secrets that people don't know. I mean, I tell people mostly everything about me right off the bat. 99.9% people won't do that. A lot of people say I'm not the smartest guy in the world for doing that.
Right.
Listen, I always said, why? If I tell you something, you're gonna burn me, you're gonna burn me anyway.
Right.
I'd rather you burn me up front.
Right.
Well, why get involved with something? Then you're gonna burn me what? After I exasperated a lot of time and energy and resources into you, burn me up front.
Right.
You're really just burning yourself. Okay? It's not really a big deal. So for me, I like telling people, I like hugging people and sharing and really giving the gift of me, right, to that person and receiving the gift of you back.
Yeah.
Because that's how relationships are built quickly, right? In my line of work, it is relationships. Relationships typically take years to earn, years. You don't always have years, right? So let's strip it down real quick and let's hug each other,
That makes
right?
sense, yeah.
Let's love each other. Let's really get to know each other. Let's try each other out. Let's lead with integrity, right? Deliver on what we said. Then after that, say, let's do it again.
Right.
And I've done that a lot. I said, listen, I don't want all your business. I want to earn it. I mean, that's a big thing that I always say. And I've had clients, well, what about this? I go, not right now, not right now. We just started this relationship. Let me do one or two.
Right.
Let's do it the right way. After that, let's do 2 or 3.
Right.
Let's do this. I don't need 100 right now. My family's well fed. Everybody's good. Let's just do it the right way. You'd be surprised the response that you get from people when you do that.
Yeah.
They really take a step back and they go, who is this guy? Because every other competitor of mine, they want it all.
Gobble
they
it
want to
up.
come in. I have no problems with my competitors being in with my clients. I really don't.
Right.
Do I want them out? Of course I do. I would love to, but it's fine. Let them stay in there. And let me just outwork them. Let me just do a better job. Eventually,
Right.
they'll start fading away
Right.
because we're growing inside of it.
Yeah.
Competition is healthy. It's great. It's what makes this land, the land that it is.
100%.
Without competition, we have nothing.
No. Yeah, those are all great points, man.
Yeah.
Really, really good points. What was, in building the business or in the business today, do you have one definitive moment that was the most transitional? Besides turning back around and going to the office?
One, I wouldn't say I had one definitive moment. I would say, no, I really don't think so. I think consistency just really over time. Hey, listen, we've had some big clients come in, some big pops here and there. But, the success of Offshore Abstract is not because of one client. It's not because of one internal person.
Right.
And it's because of every employee that we employ. That's 100% true. We have the best of the best that work for us. I mean, it's just like one family.
That's awesome.
Just amazing. Everybody's amazing at what they do. The support's there. And listen, they're just like any other family. There's some arguing at the dinner table sometimes. But you know what? Everybody comes back for dessert. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any big lessons that you've learned that anyone else can learn from?
100%. So in title insurance or just in
Life
general?
in general.
Yeah. So I'm really happy you asked that question. I was hoping you would. Very important. And you touched on it before. Your biggest asset is time.
Right.
There's no way around that. Okay. Time is everything. Stay away from people that waste it.
Yep.
If somebody is wasting your time, cut them now. Just cut them. Cordially, professionally.
Right, of course.
Cut them. It's a waste of time. I don't need pipe dreams being brought to me. I don't need this being brought to me. I need reality being brought to me.
Right.
And if I can help, I will. And you know that firsthand.
Yeah.
If I can help, I will.
Yeah.
I'll do it day in and day in and day in and day out. I won't stop helping. But don't waste my time. I have too many people that I have to help. We have too many deals that we have to process.
Right.
Time is the biggest waster. So my advice to everybody out there is stay away from, and I'm doing a lot of talking here today, but in the industry, I think I know what you mean. Stay away from a lot of those people.
Yeah.
Right? And good people that have integrity, that's who you want to align with. They might not be the people that you want to hang out with after work. They might not be as much fun, but those are the people that you want to build your business with.
Right.
You don't need a lead singer. You don't need 20 lead singers. You just need one.
Right.
All right? I usually play the part of the lead singer, in all these things. So that's fine. I have the worst voice. You don't really ever want to hear me sing. But the whole thing is, it's just like a chef. You can only have one chef in the kitchen.
Right.
One chief. You can only have these things. So don't align yourself with people like yourself. Align yourself with people that are great at areas that you're not.
Right.
And that's what you want to align yourself with. That's my advice.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good tip. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
So you can always call the office, 631-581-5236. My email address is T like Tom, Vito, Vito, at allshoreabstract.com.
Awesome. Tom, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate
Timmy,
it.
you're the best.
Always a pleasure, brother.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.